Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Ticking Together. As always, the goal of this channel is to provide education about and to raise awareness as to what it's like living with Tourette Syndrome. In today's video, I wanted to give you guys the top 10 worst places to go as someone with Tourette's. Or like the top 10 places that you want to avoid, or the places that just suck going to when you have Tourette's. These are gonna be in no particular order, but I thought this video would be helpful because I don't think a lot of people realize like going places is hard with Tourette's as is, but there are some places that are just impossible to be at. So without further ado, let's get into it. Also, sorry if you're distracted by my fidget toy. This is my fidget egg, also known as the breg, because it's an egg and a bread loaf, egg, bread, egg, bread. It also just really helps me calm down my tics. So I'm gonna be using it in this video, so if it bothers you, I'm so sorry. Number one of the worst places, like rice. One of the worst places to go to with Tourette's, at least as someone who does this, is go to the nail salon. Now my nails are completely blank right now, so I haven't been in a few months, but I used to go monthly to the nail salon with my mom. And the thing is, these ladies that are doing your nails or whoever's doing your nails, they expect you to be still because they have your hands out. They're painting with a very tiny brush, and any sudden jerk or movement will cause them to scuff your nails, and it's just a disaster. Before I moved out, I went to a nail salon, like I said, monthly with my mom, but I didn't tell the nail techs that I had Tourette's. No one knew that I had Tourette's. I would just suppress the whole length of the nail appointment. And that was really, really challenging, especially for someone who has a lot of hand and finger tics as their tics. You don't want to be doing like weird jerky things like this with your hand while you're getting your nails painted. It's just really hard to stay still as someone with Tourette's. And you'll see a common theme here with these places. Number 2 is a movie theater. This one probably seems a little bit more obvious, but I'll tell you some reasons why I hate going to movie theaters. Number 1, the seats are very close together and I have a lot of pretty jarring motor tics with my back. So something like that would happen. And if I'm in a movie theater and I'm sitting next to someone I don't know perhaps, that's gonna disrupt the movie for them. Another thing which seems very obvious is vocal tics in a movie theater don't go together. I'm lucky enough that I'm highly medicated and I am able to suppress my vocal tics when I'm in public for the most part. But if I was in a movie theater and I had to tic vocally, it would disrupt the movie not only for me, but for everyone else in the theater, and I don't think that's fair. So not only is there the combined pressure of not ticking, but while I'm not ticking, since I'm so focused on not ticking, I'm also often missing the movie because I'm so focused on don't tick, don't tick, don't tick, that it's just not a pleasant situation for me. Number 3 is the symphony or like a low-key concert. I'm very lucky that every so often my wonderful aunt treats me to going to the symphony, and I love music. I love listening to orchestral music and choirs. It just makes me so happy. But one thing you can't do at a symphony is tick loud or tick obnoxiously. And sometimes with Tourette's, that's hard not to do. I was actually just at the Christmas symphony last month, and I found it impossible to sit still for the 2 hours of the symphony. Even though there was an intermission, I didn't find that 15-minute intermission long enough for me to get out all of the tics I needed to. It's different than a movie because this is a live performance. So if I were to tic, it would disrupt everything and it would ruin everything. For me, as I said, my vocal tics are pretty under control, but my motor tics at a symphony just make it so uncomfortable and unbearable to deal with. Especially because I'll be sitting in the seat and I'll just be kind of vibrating with tenseness and just being awfully uncomfortable because I'm trying to hold in these tics, which I can't, and I'm not wanting to distract other people. So it's really, really awful. And the same for a low-key concert or like a live performance of any sort. You don't want to disrupt anyone. Number 4 is the airport/airplane. And this one may seem obvious, but let me just debunk it for you if you're not sure. People with Tourette's have motor tics and vocal tics, and both of these tics are involuntary, meaning we can't control when they happen and we can't control what we're doing / what we're saying. So on the off chance someone has a tic saying something along the lines of, I have a gun or I have a bomb, but they don't, it's a tic. And this is a true thing that happens. Airports don't work for people with Tourette's. With coprolalia, this is the involuntary repetition of swearing or socially unacceptable things. This would come along the lines of, I have a bomb in an airport. It's socially unacceptable, but it's not the truth. It is not our innermost thoughts. It is not what we're thinking. But a lot of people with Tourette's, when they're in this situation, their vocal tics will say the most inappropriate thing they can think of. Another reason why airports are so difficult for people with Tourette's is just people stare. There's a lot of people moving around at airports, and if you're having a loud tic, if you're having a very obnoxious tic, people will be looking at you, and it's just embarrassing. Speaking of the airplane, it is also very, very challenging to be on an airplane with Tourette's because of, I got rice. Because of the close quarters you're sitting in on the airplane with other people. Since it is a closed tube of people and everyone can hear you, if you're vocally ticking on a plane, it's not gonna be pleasant for you or the other people. Think of if you had a crying baby on a plane, you would absolutely be annoyed with that. It's the same as someone with Tourette's. We can't help it. The crying baby can't help it, but it inevitably is annoying. And for me, being on a plane, just sitting in that tight quarters, my motor tics are the main issues for me. And so when I'm on an airplane, I want to have a lot of motor tics, but they're just uncomfortable. It's not a very pleasant place to be ticking, and it's just not a good vibe. Number 5 is the hair salon. This one also may seem obvious, but let me just reiterate what I mean here. Again, it involves being still and having to stay still for a long period. When I get my hair done, usually I will tell my hairdresser, hey, I have Tourette's. If I'm ticking, please just give me a break. Because there's a person standing behind you with scissors, and that is dangerous if you were to make a sudden movement. Vocal tics at a hair salon aren't so big of a deal, but motor tics at a hair salon are a big deal. And I have a lot of neck tics where I'll jerk my neck all over the place. And if someone has scissors at my neck behind me, I don't want to be making any sudden movements that could cause the scissors to have an accident. I have a lovely hairdresser I've gone to for a few years now, and she knows I have Tourette's. And so she knows that, hey, if I have to tic, I'll let her know beforehand. The next place that is absolutely awful for Tourette's is church. Now, I know not everyone goes to church, but at least in my church, I go to a Catholic church every so often. You have to be quiet. You have to sit on the pews next to a bunch of people. There's incense, there's bells, there's chimes, there's choirs. There's so many sensory things that are just triggering at church. And again, it's live and you have to be quiet. I find for me, when I go to church, my tics are at an all-time high. Because for one, the pews are uncomfortable. The vibe is just very, very serious and intense and solemn. And I don't do well in those situations where I'm not allowed to move and I'm not allowed to be a little bit loud because I have Tourette's. I actually went to my cousin's confirmation about a year ago, and I had to leave halfway through because my tics were so bad and I didn't want to disrupt the church. So that just goes to show Tourette's and church don't mix. The next place that absolutely sucks for Tourette's, and this is like one that literally every single person with Tourette's will do, is school. School with Tourette's is such a freaking challenge. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Because for one, again, it's a live environment. You have the teacher in front of you talking. You're in a classroom full of other students, and you're sat at a very uncomfortable desk. If you're ticking in this class, vocally or motor tics, you will disrupt the class, both the teacher and the other students and yourself. I've had a lot of people reach out to me asking, how do you get through school with Tourette's? Because it just seems impossible. And I've had teachers reach out too to me asking, how do I deal with my student in class with Tourette's? And honestly, it's really challenging for both parties. Anytime that stress is heightened for someone with Tourette's, or if they're more nervous or if they're worried, their tics get worse. And school, for me at least, was a very anxiety-inducing environment. So my tics were always worse in school. Taking exams, for example, you have to be quiet during an exam because it wouldn't be fair to the other students if you were to start yelling, I got rice in an exam. So that is why it's so important for people with Tourette's or tics to get an IPP, a 504 plan, an IEP, those recommendations from doctors to give the teachers and the school overall to help students with Tourette's, because It's challenging, I'm not gonna lie. School was so hard for me, having to suppress my tics throughout the day, having to pretend I didn't have Tourette's just to cater to everyone else. It was horrible, and I know so many people that watch my channel are in my shoes, and I'm so sorry for you guys that you have to deal with this because it really does suck. But again, talk to your doctor, get those plans in place. For me, I was able to take exams in a separate room, so it was less stressful, less chaotic. I was able to leave my classroom whenever I wanted to go tick in the halls for a few minutes at a time. There are resources you can do, and there are things you can do to help yourself, but school really sucks with Tourette's. Next is the eye doctor. And this one is just kind of funny because like you don't go to the eye doctor that often, but I recently went probably a few months ago now, and I got rice. And when they have that machine on your face, I'm always doing this. Jerking my head back, blinking my eyes. I don't want that machine anywhere near my face because my Tourette's gets triggered. So it's hard for me to get an eye test done because of my Tourette's. And this is just kind of like a silly one because you don't go that often, but you wouldn't think about it if you didn't know, right? The next one is also kind of niche. So my dad's a hunter, and he used to take me and my brother to the shooting range when we were younger just to shoot some rifles at targets as something to do when it was summertime and we had really nothing else to do. And it's not for any reason that was dangerous because it was a very protected shooting range and everything is very safe. But again, it was having that scope up to my eye. I would be moving back, I would be jerking my body, I would kind of like, it was just, even though all the safety measures were there, I didn't feel safe being there because I was hurting myself while trying to have fun, and just wasn't a good time. Luckily, we were the only ones there at the time, so even if I did have a vocal tic or an inappropriate tic, no one would know because it was just me, my dad, and my brother. But regardless, it's not a fun place with Tourette's. And last but not least, one of the worst places to go with Tourette's, or to be with Tourette's, is on a bus. It's kind of the same as the airplane vibes where you're in a tight quarters and you're ticking and people are staring and getting annoyed. However, the bus seats for me are so much worse because it's just a little bench seat and you have to sit two people directly next to each other. And let me tell you, when I was in school and busing to school, that was freaking hard. I would have to sit on the ride to school like this, still as a board, while my insides were like, I got a tick, and it was horrible. I hate busing. I hate having to sit next to people in any way, whether it's on a bus, on a couch, in a car. Like whenever there's someone touching my body, I will tick in that area. So like if someone was here, I would be like moving around. Like I always am moving because of my Tourette's. And so being on a bus is not a good place to be. And there you have it. Those are the 10 worst places to be as someone with Tourette's. I hope you learned something in this video, or I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, I would really appreciate it if you would give this video a thumbs up. That would really make me feel super happy. Leave a comment down below if you have any other places that you feel like would be awful for someone with Tourette's to go to, because I probably missed some. This was just a quick brainstorming session. And also, I would be so genuinely appreciative if you would subscribe to my channel and ring that notification bell to stay tuned to all of my content here at Ticcing Together. I got rice. I'm getting really close to 100K, and that is my all-time goal. So please subscribe and join the Ticcing Together family. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, we are learning together, we're laughing together, and we're ticking together. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!